Okay, now that we've talked about one-step inequalities, let's take it a step further and let's do multi-step inequalities. It's just like solving an equation, except you'll remember you'll have to graph your solution, and if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you've got to flip the symbol. So let's practice. First inequality, 2x plus 11 is less than or equal to 19. My x is on the left, everything is good, we're all set up, so it's just like solving an equation. I'm going to subtract 11. So I have 2x is less than or equal to 8. And then I'll divide both sides by 2. Since I don't have any negatives, I can leave the symbol alone. So x is less than or equal to 4. So if I'm going to graph that on the number line, get my numbers on here, it's less than or equal to 4, which means at 4, I get to color in my circle because of the or equal to, and because it's less than, my arrow points to the left. Now, if you draw your arrows better than me, they should line up right on the number line, but I really sort of have trouble on my little smartboard here. But so your arrow should point to the left. Here's your solution. Here is the graph of your solution. The second problem here, you've got variables on both sides. You've got negative 3x over here and 6x over here. But as I have stated before, when I solve an inequality, I like my variables on the left. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cancel out the variable that's on the right so that I can have variables on the left all by themselves. So I'm going to subtract 6x. So I end up with negative 2 minus 9x is greater than or equal to 7. Then I will add 2. That's a 2. So I have negative 9x is greater than or equal to 9. And I'm going to divide by negative 9, and since I'm dividing by a negative number, I have to flip the sign in my answer so it becomes less than or equal to negative 1. Do not forget this step. It can mean the difference between doing all of this work and getting all of the points for the question, or doing all of this work and getting half of it wrong because you forgot to flip the sign. Please don't forget that step. So it's less than or equal to, so that means again at the negative 1 I get to color in my circle, and since it's less than because I flipped my symbol, my arrow points to the left again. So let's talk about doing this in the terms of a word problem. I have 1/2 the quantity of 5 less than 3/4 of a number is greater than 4 less than twice the number. I got a lot going on. This word right here means parentheses. So I have to do 1/2 of the quantity of something. Okay, so that means parentheses. So in parentheses, I have to have 5 less than 3/4 of a number. So that means 3/4 of a number minus 5. And this time when it says is greater than, that doesn't mean plus. That actually means I have to be greater than 4 less than twice the number, which is 2x minus 4. I'm going to move my number line out of the way really quick because I can tell I need more room than that to solve. I love my little smart notebook. Just move stuff around to make this easy. So now I'm going to solve this inequality. Step 1, distribute. 1/2 times 3/4 gives me 3/8 because 1 times 3 is 3 and 2 times 4 is 8. X. Now 1/2 of negative 5 is negative 2.5. It's greater than 2x minus 4. Now, like I told y'all earlier, I want variables on the left. That's where I want them. But right now I've got a fraction going on. You got two options here. Make this a decimal or clear the fraction. We're going to clear the fraction because that's what I've gotten you used to. So if I multiply by 8, this 8 cancels out this 8, so you end up with just 3x. But I also have to do 8 times this. And so I have 2.5 times 8. If you use your calculator correctly, you get that that equals 20. So it's minus 20, because I had this minus sign right here, is greater than. Now I still have to multiply both of these times 8. So 8 times 2x is 16x, and 8 times 4 is 32. So now we can go to solving this. I'm going to get all my variables on the left, so I'm going to subtract 16x which is going to leave me with negative 13x minus 20 is greater than negative 32. And then I'm going to add 20. And so I have negative 32 plus 20, which is going to equal negative 12. So I have negative 13x is greater than negative 12. And I want to make sure I did my math correctly really quick, because this is kind of an ugly little decimal thing happening. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 13. Since I'm dividing by a negative, this symbol must turn. These two cancel each other out, so I have 12/13, which is the same thing as this really long yucky decimal, so we would leave it alone. So that would be your answer. Okay, now if you chose to do this problem by turning this right here into a decimal, or this 3/8 even into a decimal from there, instead of clearing out your fraction, you are still going to get a weird little decimal at the end as your answer. My suggestion is to leave it all the whole number so that you just get this 12/13, and then you can graph. You have 0 and -1 and +1, and 12/13 is pretty much one whole. And so you have an open circle there because it is just less than, and your arrow is going to point to the left. And so there is the graph of that function, or inequality. So let's do a couple more. Move this out of the way. So this one right here I go pressing fancy buttons on my board, opening stuff. This one right here, I've got parentheses that I'm going to have to get rid of before I can solve. And outside the set of parentheses is this negative. And if you'll remember, that means I have a -1 right here. So I'm going to have to distribute the -1. So this becomes minus 2m minus 3, because you have to distribute that negative to both of those. And so it's greater than or equal to 13 plus 4m. So let's put like terms together. 6m minus 2m is 4m minus 3. It's greater than or equal to 13 plus 4m. Well, if I go and subtract 4m from both sides, your m's cancel, but I want you to look at something. What you have left is -3 is greater than or equal to +13. I want you to think about that answer for just a second. Does it even make sense? No, it doesn't. -3 is not greater than or equal to 13. It is less than or equal to 13, so this has no solution. So when you graph it, there is no graph because it doesn't go anywhere. There is no answer. So the next problem, I have one that looks like I have a fraction, and so the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of it by multiplying both sides by 5. That cancels out these 5s, leaving me with just -2x minus 7 is greater than or equal to 45, because I multiplied by a positive, didn't have to change anything. So I'm going to add 7. So I have -2x is greater than or equal to 52. And when I divide by -2, it flips my symbol, so x is less than or equal to -26. And so when I graph that, here's why I do it the way I do. You don't want to have to write down every single number between here and -26, so just include it, and you can see the space between, of course, be all the numbers. So less than or equal to means get to color in the circle, and your arrow should point to the left. Again, do not forget this flip the symbol part of the question. If you forget that, you're going to do all of this work to get only half credit, and that's just silly. So last one. I don't know why it's number 7. It might really be number 7, but when I copy and paste from Word, sometimes I just get random numbers. So Celia has at most $30 to spend at a carnival. Admission costs $5, lunch will cost $6, and each ride ticket is $1.25. Which inequality represents the number of ride tickets X Celia can buy? She has at most $30 to spend. Let's think about what that means first of all. Can she spend $30 if she has at most? Yes, she can. So I know I've got to have the or equal to part of this. Can she spend more than $30 if she has at most? No. At most means she has $30 or less to spend. So it's going to be a less than or equal to 30 kind of equation. Now, we know admission is $5. You're going to pay that one time. You also know that lunch is $6. She's going to pay that one time. So I have $5 to get in, plus $6 for lunch, plus $1.25 per ticket. So that's what, $1.25 for each ticket. So there is my inequality. Now that can clearly be simplified, but if you will look at your answer choices, it's not. The answer is B. And so that's what you end up with. Okay? So you pick answer B. That's going to be the one that gives you how many ride tickets she can buy. That's multi-step inequalities. I will see you tomorrow when we will practice this some more together in class.